Morning sunlight filled the small kitchen as Marcus tied a bright blue ribbon around a stack of paper cups. He had been planning his daughter Ava's birthday for weeks. He made a simple checklist and taped it to the fridge. Balloons, cake, music, games, napkins, thank you bags. The list was neat and calm, just like him. He wanted a happy day, not a noisy one. He wanted a memory that would sit in Ava's heart like a warm candle. She was turning 8. She had lost a tooth last week and kept smiling to show the little gap. Today she wore a yellow dress with soft cotton sleeves and tiny stars on the skirt. She moved from room to room with excitement that sounded like light footsteps and small laughs. Their backyard was narrow but friendly. There was a small patch of grass, a wooden fence, and a short patio, where Marcus placed a folding table. He spread a white cloth over it and taped the corners so the wind would not pull it. He set out bright plates, a bowl of strawberries, and a tray of small sandwiches that he made at dawn. He checked the speaker on the patio. He tested the music at a modest volume. It was cheerful and soft, the kind of music that sounds like open windows and clean air. He nodded to himself. He also checked the local rules on his phone. Weekends allowed normal daytime gatherings, and quiet hours started much later. He believed in being a good neighbor. 2 days earlier, he had sent a short message in the street chat. Ava's birthday, Saturday between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. Light music. Please stop by for cake if you like. He also spoke to the people on each side of his home. He wanted to make sure everyone felt respected. Ava's cousins came first, holding small presents wrapped in bright paper. They brought crayons and a puzzle and a soft toy shaped like a panda. The children played a simple game with chalk on the sidewalk. They drew a big heart and wrote "Happy Birthday" in colors that looked like joy. Marcus's sister, Lena, arrived with a cooler of lemonade and a calm smile. She hugged Ava and said, 8 is a brave number. The backyard filled with small voices, soft music, and the warm sound of easy conversations. The air smelled like vanilla frosting and fresh grass. Across the street, a neighbor sat on her porch. She was a quiet person who liked things in a certain way. She watched the balloons sway and the children play. She looked at the speaker on the patio. Her eyes narrowed with worry. She preferred stillness, and sometimes even a normal sound felt too big to her. She did not walk over to say hello. She stayed on her porch and watched. At 2:30, the cake arrived. It was a simple round cake with yellow frosting and tiny sugar stars. Ava's eyes widened when she saw it. It matches my dress, she said. Marcus laughed softly. He wanted to keep everything peaceful. He kept checking the music volume with his phone. He kept it low. When he walked to the fence to tie a balloon higher, he noticed the neighbor across the street. He gave a small wave, a polite and friendly wave. She did not wave back. He did not take it personally. Maybe she was busy with her own thoughts. At 3 o'clock, more children arrived with their parents. The yard felt full but not crowded. The voices rose and fell like a gentle tide. A little boy tripped on the grass and then stood up fast with a smile, as if the earth had just teased him. People reached for lemonade and said thank you. Lena took a short video to capture the moment when Ava would blow out her candles later. The sky had a few thin clouds, the kind that float like harmless ideas. Then the street grew quiet in a different way. A patrol car rolled up and parked near the curb. The music paused as if someone had pressed a hidden button. Children looked toward the front gate. Parents turned their heads. Ava's eyes changed and she held the edge of her dress. Marcus felt his breath slow down. He put down a plate and walked toward the gate with calm steps. He did not rush. He did not frown. He opened the gate and stood with his shoulders soft and his hands empty. 2 officers stepped out of the car. They were professional and alert, but not harsh. One officer said, "Good afternoon. We got a call about a disturbance." His voice was even. He looked past Marcus and saw the narrow yard, the decorations, the cake table, the children with chalk on their fingers. "Thank you for coming," Marcus said. His voice was calm, steady, and clear. "This is my daughter's 8th birthday. The music is low. We checked the local rules for daytime gatherings. We're within the allowed hours." He reached for his phone. I can show you the city page if needed. Ava stepped closer to her aunt, who gently rested a hand on her shoulder. Lena felt every small change in the air and made a decision. She opened a recording app on her phone, as many people do now during official interactions, not to start a fight but to keep a record. She kept the phone close to her side. She noted the time in her head. She could see the neighbor across the street still on her porch. The second officer glanced around. He saw cups, fruit, sandwiches, and a cake with little stars. He saw a small speaker on the patio with a low, friendly tune. He saw children with paper hats. He breathed out and said, "We understand. We just have to respond when a call comes in." His tone was respectful. The first officer nodded at Marcus's phone when Marcus showed the city rules. "Yes," the officer said. "Please keep the volume as it is. It seems fine." Marcus asked, "May I have the incident number for my notes?" He spoke gently, like a person who knows that details matter. The officer gave him the number, and Marcus typed it carefully. He saved it in a file named Birthday Incident because he liked to be organized. While they spoke, the neighbor across the street kept watching. Her face looked tight like a knot. She stood up and took a few steps toward the sidewalk, then stopped. She seemed unsure. She returned to her porch and folded her arms. A small voice broke the quiet. It was Ava. She said, "Daddy, did we do something wrong?" She did not cry, but her eyes held a question. Marcus turned slightly toward her. "No, love," he said. "We are okay. We are talking and everything is fine." He did not raise his voice. He did not let worry shape his face. He wanted her to see calm even when the air changed. One of the parents nearby stepped closer and said to the officers, "We can turn the music down one more step if that helps." The officer shook his head lightly. "It's already low," he said. "We just wanted to check." He looked at the children. "Happy birthday," he added, and a few kids smiled again because those words sounded normal. The officers returned to their car. They drove away without lights or sirens, just a quiet roll back onto the street. The yard stayed still for a moment. It was the kind of stillness that comes after a question when everybody waits for the answer. Marcus took a breath and pressed play. The music returned in a soft wave. Parents spoke again, but their voices were gentle, as if they wanted to be careful with the air. Ava stood near the cake table for a moment longer. She looked at the decorations, then at the spot where the patrol car had been. She was 8, and 8-year-old hearts are strong, but they are also quick to read a room. She took a small step, back toward her friends. One girl took her hand. Another handed her a paper hat with a star on it. Children know how to talk without words. They were saying, "We are here. We can still have cake." Marcus moved through the yard with quiet purpose. He checked the speaker again, even though he knew it was fine. He asked a parent if the lemonade was sweet enough. He cut a few strawberries and put them on a plate for the children. He did simple tasks that told everyone the day was still a celebration. He glanced across the street once more and then chose not to look again. His focus was on his daughter and the people who had come to show love. At the fence, 2 neighbors who had missed the street chat finally walked over. They had been out, doing errands, and were surprised to see the balloons. "We didn't know there was a party," one said with a warm smile. "We just came back and saw the decorations. Happy birthday." Marcus thanked them and offered them cake later. He told them the party would end at 5. He wanted them to feel included and informed. He believed that information is a kind of kindness. When it was time to sing, the voices came together. The song started a little shy and then grew steadier, line by line. Ava closed her eyes to make a wish. In that short silence, the entire yard felt like a held breath. She opened her eyes and smiled. She blew out the candles in one soft try. The children cheered, not too loud, just bright. The sound felt like the afternoon sky. Lena cut the cake. She gave the first slice to Ava, then to the small circle of children, then to the parents. Marcus handed out napkins and said small thank yous that sounded like gentle bells. The day moved forward again, not the same as before, but not broken. The music stayed at the same quiet level. A parent set up a simple game of ring toss. The children lined up and clapped for each turn. There was laughter again, the kind that rises and falls without pushing the air. As the sun began to lean toward late afternoon, the shadows stretched a little across the grass. People started to gather their things. They thanked Marcus for the careful planning and the calm way he handled the visit. A few parents said that the officers were professional and that the check had been brief. "You stayed so calm," one said to Marcus. He nodded and smiled, but inside he took notes in his mind. He remembered the time the patrol car arrived. He remembered the conversation, the incident number, the way Ava's hand had. After most guests left, the yard grew quiet, in a co. The next morning, the house was quiet in a soft, careful way. Sunlight moved across the floor like a polite guest. Marcus sat at the kitchen table with a notebook and his laptop open. He had made coffee, but he let it cool as he began to write. He started with simple facts. The date, the time the patrol car arrived, what the officers said, what he said, the incident number, the number of guests, the music level, even the kind of cake. He wrote each line slowly, as if he were building a small bridge for his thoughts to cross. He did not want anger to write his sentences. He wanted truth to write them. When Ava woke up, she padded into the kitchen with her birthday balloon still tied to her wrist. Her hair was a little messy, and the balloon bumped softly against the doorway. "Good morning," she said. "Is the party over?" He smiled and nodded. He pulled her into a hug that felt like a blanket. "The party was wonderful," he said. "And today is quiet day. Pancakes?" She nodded. As he stirred the batter, she watched him, and he could tell she still had a question inside. After breakfast, he sat beside her on the couch. "I saw the car," she said in a small voice. "Why did it come?" He kept his words simple. He explained how 911 works and how sometimes people call when they feel uncomfortable, even if there is no danger. He told her that the officers have to check, but that it is important for everyone to use 911 wisely. He said it in the same tone he used to read bedtime stories. Calm, steady, kind. After Ava went to draw in her room, he returned to the kitchen table. He opened a new folder on his laptop and labeled it clearly. He moved the short videos into it and created another file named Timeline. He wrote the details as if he were telling the story to a careful listener who needed everything in the right order. He added a line for witnesses: Lena, the neighbors who came by, the parent who offered to turn the music down even more, the two neighbors who had just returned from errands. He typed the list and looked at it. It gave him a feeling that something strong was taking shape, not loud but firm. He searched for his city's public records page. After a few clicks, he found the form for requesting the 911 audio and the officer's body camera footage. The form asked for dates, times, and the incident number, all of which he had written. He filled it out without rushing. He kept his tone polite in the request message and explained why he wanted the materials, to understand and to keep a record for his family. He hit submit and saved a copy of the confirmation page. Then he drafted a short email to the police department's records unit with the same information, in case email made the process smoother. He thanked them for their help in advance, because he believed manners make it easier for people to do. Careful work. Lena walked in holding a small box of leftover cake. "Breakfast part 2, she joked, and then she saw the screen. "You're doing it," she said with quiet pride. He nodded. "Not to fight," he said, "just to keep things clear." She sat down across from him. "Do you want me to write what I remember?" He smiled. "Yes, please," he said. She took a notepad and wrote her memory in simple sentences, including where she was standing, what she heard, and the moment she decided to record. When she finished, she signed her name and wrote the time and date at the bottom. She took a photo of the page and sent it to him, so he could keep both a paper copy and a digital copy. Before lunch, Marcus stepped outside and slowly walked along the sidewalk. The chalk heart was still there, a little faded but still bright. Mr. Lee, an older neighbor with kind eyes, was watering his plants. He waved Marcus over. "I saw the car yesterday," Mr. Lee said. "Not the best moment for a child's birthday." He shook his head in gentle concern. "Your music was soft. I heard it from my kitchen and it was fine." Marcus thanked him. "Would you mind if I note that?" he asked. "Just a sentence with your time and what you observed." Mr. Lee nodded. "Of course," he said. He went inside and came back with a pen and an index card. He wrote a few clear lines, signed his name, and handed the card to Marcus. "We all live here together," he said. "We should try to be good to each other." The words landed like strong, quiet stones in Marcus's heart. Back inside, Marcus opened the neighborhood street chat on his phone. Messages from last night had appeared. People posting photos of cake and smiling children, small hearts and kind words. Two neighbors apologized for missing the party and hoped Ava had a great day. He thought carefully before typing. He crafted a short message. "Thank you to everyone who celebrated Ava yesterday. We kept music low and ended on time. We had a brief visit from a patrol car after a call. Officers were polite and left quickly. Quick reminder for all of us. For noise questions during daytime hours, the city suggests the non-emergency line or a friendly check-in first. Let's keep our street warm and safe for everyone." He read it twice to make sure it had no blame, only guidance, then pressed send. A few minutes later, a parent from the party replied with a thumbs-up emoji. Another neighbor added the non-emergency number and wrote, "Saving this." A third neighbor said, "Thanks for handling everything calmly." Marcus felt a small, steady light inside him. The message had landed the way he hoped, not as a spark for argument, but as a gentle lamp for future paths. He printed the city's noise ordinance and highlighted the part that explained daytime allowances. He also printed a one-page guide from the city website about when to use 911 and when to use the non-emergency line. He placed both pages in a thin folder labeled for reference. He did not plan to wave the papers at anyone. He just wanted the truth ready in case truth needed a simple, readable form. Later that afternoon, he wrote a letter to the neighbor across the street. He kept the letter short and respectful. He explained that a call was made during an allowed time, that it brought officers to a child's party, and that the visit worried the children. He included the non-emergency number and the city guidance. At the end of the letter, he wrote, "In the future, please feel free to knock on our door or send a message to the street chat. We want to be good neighbors and keep things peaceful." He placed the letter in an envelope and wrote, "From Marcus" on the front. He did not want the letter to feel like a challenge. So he waited until the street was quiet, walked across with slow steps, and left the envelope on the neighbor's doorstep. He did not ring the bell. He did not linger. He returned home the same way he had gone out, steady and calm. He told himself a simple truth. He had offered a path forward. That was all he could do for now. In the evening, a reply came from the records office acknowledging his request. The email used formal words, but it was kind in tone. It said the 911 audio and relevant videos would be reviewed and, if eligible, produced. The email provided a reference number and a time frame. Marcus saved the message in his folder and added the reference number to his notes. He also set a reminder for himself to follow up later if he did not hear back. He believed in gentle persistence. It was one of his quiet strengths. A day later, the community liaison at the police department returned his call. She introduced herself and thanked him for his calm handling during the visit. She explained how calls are triaged and why officers must respond. She also explained the difference between discomfort and danger, and why careful language on a call matters so much. Marcus listened without interrupting. When she finished, he thanked her and said he wanted to be part of a solution. "I don't want anyone to feel embarrassed," he said. "I want children to feel safe, and I want neighbors to feel heard. Is there a way to help with education on the non-emergency line?" She said yes. The department sometimes joins community meetings to explain when to call which number. She offered to attend if the block ever held such a meeting. He wrote down her name and number and told her he would be in touch. That night, he and Lena talked at the dining table after Ava fell asleep. They were not planning a big showdown. They were planning small, strong steps. Maybe we can host a listening circle at the community center, Lena suggested. Not blame, just listening. We can invite the liaison. Marcus liked the idea. We can call it Neighbors and Numbers, he said with a small smile. When to call 911 and when to call the non-emergency line. They laughed softly at the simple title, but it felt right. It was easy to understand. It was honest about the goal. He drafted a flyer with a calm design, date, time, location, and a short note that said, "Let's talk about keeping our block kind and safe. Learn the right number for the right need." He did not print it yet. He wanted to wait for the records to arrive, not to argue with them, but to let truth be present in the room if questions came up. He believed real change comes, best when it stands on quiet facts. On the third day, Ava brought home a paper crown from school that her friends had made for her. It had stickers shaped like stars. She told him that her teacher asked the class to share something they learned recently, and she had said, "I learned that 911 is for emergencies, and there is another number for other things." The teacher had smiled and said that was a very helpful lesson. Marcus felt a knot in his chest loosen. He kissed the top of her head and said, "You are turning lessons into light." In the late afternoon, Marcus saw the neighbor across the street walking to her mailbox. He did not wave this time, and neither did she. He was not cold. He was simply quiet. He had offered a path, and now he was giving space for her. A few days later, an email arrived from the city records office while Marcus was making tea. The subject line was short and formal. His heart beat a little faster, not from fear, but from careful attention. He called for Lena. She sat beside him at the table. He clicked the links, the 911 audio and the officer's body camera clips. He put on headphones and pressed play. The dispatcher's voice sounded steady and trained. The caller's voice was tight, full of discomfort but not describing danger. The dispatcher asked clear questions. "Is there an emergency? Is anyone hurt? Do you see any threat?" The answers were small, unsure, and vague. Noise, people, a party. The dispatcher tried again, asking for facts. The recording did not show signs of danger, only a feeling of not liking what was happening next door. He stopped the audio and wrote 3 simple lines in his notebook. No emergency reported. Noise in daytime allowed by city rules. Caller. Could not name any danger. Then he opened the body camera video. He saw the short walk to the gate, the soft music, the decorations, the cake with tiny stars, and his own calm voice. He heard the officer say, "We just have to check." He watched Ava at the edge of the frame, standing near Lena, small and brave in her yellow dress. The video showed peace, not trouble. It felt strange to watch, like opening a window into a past moment you had lived, but could only half remember, until now. Lena squeezed his arm. "This will help," she said. Marcus did not rush to share. He took an hour to think. Then he wrote a short post for the neighborhood chat and a local community page. The post had no names and no address. It was simple and careful, like a sign on a clean path. He wrote, "Last Saturday, during our daughter's birthday, 2 to 5 p.m. daytime hours, a 911 call brought officers to our home. The officers were polite and left quickly. We received the 911 audio and body camera clips. The call did not describe an emergency. This is a gentle reminder for all of us. 911 is for real emergencies. For daytime noise or questions, our city asks us to use the non-emergency line or try a friendly check-in first. I'm sharing this so we can all help our neighborhood feel safe and fair for every family. Thank you." At the end, he added both phone numbers, 911 and the non-emergency line, and a link to the city's simple guide that showed when to use which number. He read the post out loud to Lena. She nodded. "No blame," she said. "Just a light." He pressed send. Responses began to appear like small lamps in a row. "Thank you for explaining. I didn't know the difference between the numbers. Saved. We heard the music. It was calm." A parent added, "Our kids were there." They felt worried for a minute, but then they ate cake and laughed. Thank you for keeping it gentle. Someone tagged a local reporter who often covered community stories. The reporter sent Marcus a direct message. I'd like to write about responsible 911 use without naming your block. Would you talk to me? Marcus thought hard. He set 2 clear rules. Ava's name would not be used. No house number or street would be printed, and the article would focus on education and peaceful steps, not blame. The reporter agreed. They met at the community center in a bright corner, with a window. Marcus brought printouts, the noise rule, the non-emergency number, the email from the records office. He spoke slowly and clearly. We want to give our daughter a memory of kindness, he said. We also want to help people understand. If we can reduce 1 unnecessary 911 call, that is good for the whole city. The reporter asked careful questions and said thank you many times. A few days later, the article ran with a calm headline. What to know: 911 versus non-emergency calls during daytime gatherings. The article did not include names or addresses. It focused on the facts and the gentle lesson. It mentioned that a family used records, notes, and city rules to guide a better path forward. At the end, it listed both telephone numbers and invited readers to share them with neighbors. That night, Marcus received an email from a civil rights attorney who had read the article. The message was warm and respectful. The attorney offered a short free conversation to explain the city's policy on misuse of 911 and options for non-punitive education. Marcus agreed to a call. He sat with a pen and paper. The attorney explained that some cities were building fair practices for calls that did not describe danger, but disturbed families anyway. Education can work, the attorney said. Clear rules, clear phone numbers, and simple training for neighbors. These can change behavior. Marcus asked, what helps most? The attorney replied, record keeping, calm language, and a positive plan. You already have those. If you want, you could also write a short letter to your council member suggesting a public awareness effort. Marcus thanked the attorney and wrote positive plan in his notebook, underlined twice. 2 days later, a city council member reached out. The council member had heard about the article and Marcus's careful approach. We're considering a small update to our guidelines, the message read, to promote correct use of emergency services and to support community conversations. Would you share your experience in a letter or a short statement? Marcus felt the room grow a little brighter. He wrote back that he was happy to share a written note with the same rules. No names, no address, just a simple account and a clear focus on education. He did not want the story to turn into a sharp point. He wanted it to become a soft, strong bridge. With these pieces in place, Marcus and Lena decided to host the event they had talked about, a listening circle called Neighbors and Numbers. They chose the community center room with the good windows and the round tables. They picked a weeknight at 6 p.m. so parents could come after work and seniors could attend before it got too late. Marcus designed a 1-page flyer in simple language. Let's keep our block kind and safe. Learn when to call 911 and when to use the non-emergency number. Share ideas for friendly, fair neighborhoods. He added the date, time, and the words, all welcome. Ava helped by drawing tiny stars in the white space. Not too many, Marcus laughed. Just enough to look hopeful. He emailed the police liaison, who agreed to come and bring simple handouts. The liaison also invited a 911 center dispatcher who could explain how calls are handled. Hearing from the person who answers the phone can open eyes, the liaison said. Marcus thanked them both and made a small checklist. Chairs in a circle, sign-in sheet, a gentle opening statement, time for questions, time for ideas, a short closing with phone numbers on the screen. On the night of the event, people filed in quietly. Parents came with notepads. A few teens held snacks and whispered. Seniors walked in slowly, smiling at familiar faces. Mr. Lee sat near the front and gave Marcus a thumbs up. The police liaison stood near the wall, relaxed and ready. The dispatcher wore a simple name badge and held a stack of handouts. Marcus noticed the neighbor across the street near the back door for a moment, then looking uncertain and slipping out again. He did not follow. He told himself, space is sometimes the first step. He started on time. "Thank you for coming," he said. His voice was calm, but warm. "My family had a small moment a few days ago. It shook our child for a minute. We learned a lot about calls and numbers, and we wanted to share those lessons and hear your ideas." He spoke for 5 minutes, no more. He did not point fingers. He simply placed facts in the center like smooth stones. The time of day, the city rule, the officer's short visit, the recordings that showed no danger, and the 2 phone numbers. He ended his opening with a simple, steady line. "We all want safety. Safety grows best when it stands on truth and kindness at the same time." The dispatcher spoke next. She explained how the 911 center works. Many screens, many calls, and the big job of sorting urgent from non-urgent in seconds. "Words matter," she said gently. "If you see danger, someone hurt, a fight, a fire, call 911 right away. If you hear daytime noise or you feel unsure but see no risk, please use the non-emergency number or try a friendly check-in. It helps us keep 911 lines open for someone who needs help at that exact moment." She showed a short printed guide with examples. Loud music at 3 p.m. under non-emergency, smoke, fire, crash under 911. People nodded and took copies. The police liaison then shared how officers respond. "When a call comes in, we must check," she said, "but we can also use judgment. If the scene is peaceful, we focus on respect and quick guidance." She looked at the circle of faces. "We want your neighborhood to feel good. If you plan a gathering, a quick message to your block chat helps. If something worries you, describe what you actually see. Facts are our friends." Her tone was friendly, not sharp. The room loosened. Marcus opened the floor. A man in a green jacket spoke first. "I didn't know the non-emergency number," he said. "I saved it just now. I'll tell my mother too." A mom added, "Maybe we can make a simple party, heads-up template for our street chat. Date, hours, music level, contact." A teenager said, "What if we make a shared calendar just for our block? People could add birthdays or yard sales." Mr. Lee raised his hand. "What if we create a 1-page good neighbor guide with our own ideas plus the city rules and hand it out with a smile?" A soft chorus of yes murmurs floated around the room. They broke into small groups at the round tables for 10 minutes. People wrote on sticky notes. One group suggested a knock with kindness step. "If you feel okay, knock once before calling any number and speak gently." Another grew. 2 weeks after the neighbors and numbers circle, a thin envelope arrived from the city. Marcus stood by the mailbox for a second, then brought it inside and opened it at the kitchen table. The letter was formal but clear. It said the city had reviewed his complaint and the records he submitted. It also said there would be a brief administrative hearing to discuss the use of 911 during a daytime birthday party that did not show danger. The letter invited him to share any final documents and to attend if he wished. It also said the caller would be notified and offered a chance to attend. Marcus read every line twice. He felt steady. He was not looking for a scene. He was looking for understanding, better steps, and a fair outcome that would guide the block. He called Lena. She read the letter and nodded. "It's a next step," she said. "Not a fight. A step." Marcus answered, "Yes, we will take it the same way we took everything else, calm and clear." He wrote a short reply to the city, attaching the 911 audio confirmation, the body, camera links, the list of neighbors who wrote simple observation notes, and the printed city noise rule with the daytime hours highlighted. He kept his message respectful. "Thank you for your time. Here are the facts. We want a kinder and safer block. We support education for everyone." He printed one more copy for his folder, then closed the cover. A week later, they arrived at a small conference room at City Hall. The room had soft gray chairs and a framed map of the city on the wall. A clerk greeted them with gentle patience. The hearing officer entered with a binder and a glass of water. She spoke in a calm voice and thanked both sides for coming. The neighbor sat 2 chairs away from Marcus, looking down at her hands. There was no crowd, no cameras, and no harsh talk. It was a room for careful listening. The hearing officer began with facts. She summarized the call. Daytime, loud music, reported no danger described. She played a short clip from the 911 audio. The dispatcher's voice sounded the same as before, steady and clear. Then she played a small part of the body camera video. The scene on the screen was simple. Children with paper hats, a cake, soft music, and Marcus speaking politely. The hearing officer turned off the monitor and spoke again. "We are here," she said, "to look at how we use an important emergency number. We want it ready for true emergencies. We also want neighbors to feel they can ask for help in the right way. Today is about learning and gentle correction." She asked Marcus to speak. He stood, not to point a finger, but to place a few smooth facts on the table. "My daughter turned 8 that day," he said. "We told neighbors in advance." The eyes, music was low. "When officers came, we were respectful and they were respectful. Afterward, we requested the records and brought them here because we want to help. We want people to use 911 for danger and the non-emergency line for daytime noise." He sat down. The room felt calm. Then the hearing officer asked the neighbor if she wished to speak. The neighbor stood with her eyes low. Her voice was small, but clear. She said she did not like noise and that she felt unsure. She admitted she did not see danger. She said she had not known about the non-emergency line. Her words came out like small stones tapped from a wall. The hearing officer nodded, not to approve but to show she was listening. "Thank you," the officer said. "This is why we are here, so we can grow better together." The decision was simple and kind, but firm. The city would issue a formal notice for misuse of 911 and assign a community education session focused on when to call 911 and when to use the non-emergency line. The neighbor would also pay a modest fine, not to punish harshly, but to mark the importance of keeping emergency lines open for real danger. The officer also said the city would send a reminder to the neighborhood association about the numbers, the quiet hours, and friendly ways to talk to one another. "We invite everyone," she said, "to practice a 2-step habit. Knock with kindness if safe or call the non-emergency line before 911 when there is no sign of danger." On the way out, Marcus thanked the clerk and the hearing officer. He did not wait for the neighbor at the door. He chose to give space. Outside, the sun felt honest and bright. Lena breathed out. "That felt like a fair room," she said. "Yes," Marcus answered. "Not loud, just fair." They walked to the car with quiet steps like people leaving a library with exactly the book they needed. That same week, the police department posted a short update on its website about community training. The post said officers would receive a refresh module called Daytime Gatherings and Non-Emergency Calls. It included sample scripts for de-escalation and for guiding neighbors to the right number. It also included a short note to remind officers to look for signs of actual danger and to support families and children with calm language during checks. The update made Marcus feel hopeful. He printed the page and placed it in his folder under a new tab. Positive changes. Now it was time to finish planning the block Unity Day. The idea had started as a small light in the listening circle. Now it began to glow like a lantern you can hold. Marcus made a checklist on a whiteboard in the living room. Chairs and tables, a gentle music plan, 2 hours low volume, with a volume buddy down the block to text him if it felt too loud. Snack tables with fruit and water, a booth with the phone numbers printed in large font, a kid's corner with crayons, and a coloring page that said, "Call 911 for danger. Call non-emergency for noise or questions." He added one more line in careful letters. "Welcome table with friendly smiles." A small team of neighbors joined in. Mr. Lee offered to bring folding chairs and a big picture. A parent who worked at a print shop said, "I can print the Good Neighbor Guide." A teen group offered to set up the shared block calendar. The police liaison confirmed she would attend and bring simple handouts. The dispatcher said she would bring a phone prop that showed the 2 numbers on a large screen so children could press pretend buttons and learn which number was for what. Ava asked if she could help with the kids' corner. Marcus smiled and said, "Yes, Captain," and she laughed with a proud sparkle. The day before the event, Marcus and Lena walked door to door with small invitations. Warm music, low volume. Snacks, learning booth, the card said with the start and end times. They included the sentence, "All welcome." Some people were busy and waved from windows. Others opened the door and smiled. One woman said, "I love the volume buddy idea. It is so simple." A man down the block said, "I'll bring cut fruit." A child held up a crayon and asked, "Can I draw a big phone?" "Yes," Marcus said. "Please do." On the morning of Block Unity Day, the sky looked friendly and the air felt like a soft handshake. They set up tables on the wide part of the sidewalk and the small lawn by the community center. The music team tested the speaker and set it so low that it felt like a ribbon of sound, not a wave. The welcome table held name stickers and pens. The Good Neighbor Guide sat in small stacks. One page, big letters, clear tips, share plans, keep quiet hours, knock with kindness if safe. Use the non-emergency line for daytime noise, save 911. For danger, choose calm words, be a volume buddy, and thank people for good choices. The police liaison arrived with a gentle smile and a box of handouts. The dispatcher set up her phone prop. The kids' corner filled with crayons and tiny star stickers that Ava carefully placed in a neat jar. People came a little at a time, like sunlight moving across a floor. Parents, teens, seniors, and little ones. Some brought fruit or cookies. Others brought stories. The welcome table stayed busy with quiet greetings. "I'm so glad you're here," the volunteers said again and again. A small group tried the volume buddy test. One person stood down the block and texted, "Music is fine at this level." A cheer rose, not loud, just bright. A boy held the phone prop and said, "I see smoke." And the dispatcher gently guided him to press the 911 side. Then he said, "I hear music at 3 p.m." And she guided him to press the non-emergency side. The boy grinned like he had just learned a magic trick that helps people. Near the snack table, Marcus noticed the neighbor from across the street standing at the corner. She did not come in. She watched for a minute with a face that was hard to read, part worry, part wonder. She looked at the Good Neighbor Guide from a distance, as if reading it with her eyes alone. Then she turned and walked back slowly, with her hands tucked into her sleeves. Marcus did not follow. He let the moment be what it was, a quiet look. From the edge, Ava's poster became the heart of the day. With Lena's help, she had made it on a long sheet of paper in cheerful letters. "Celebrate, be kind, call 911 only for real emergencies." Children lined up to add small drawings along the border, stars, balloons, houses, and 2 phones with big numbers. The police liaison asked if she could take a photo and bring the poster to the next training refresh to remind officers that a child's peace is a precious thing. "Yes," Ava said softly, pleased that her careful work would help grown-ups learn. Midway through the event, Marcus took a moment to speak. He did not stand on a stage. He stood near the welcome table, where everyone could see him and hear without strain. "Thank you for coming," he said. "We are learning together. Today is not about pointing fingers, it's about pointing to a better map. We have 2 numbers. We have kind neighbors. We have a plan." He raised the Good Neighbor Guide. "This page is our promise to each other. Let's carry it forward." People clapped. The weeks after Block Unity Day moved in a gentle rhythm, like a song without sharp notes. Small changes began to show on the street. People started to send short messages before gatherings. "Birthday for my twins, Sunday 1 to 4 p.m., light music, all welcome for cake." "Backyard barbecue, Saturday 3-6 p.m., no speakers, just conversation." A parent made a simple shared calendar for the block. It was easy to read and easy to add events. Someone translated the Good Neighbor Guide into 2 other languages and posted all versions in the street chat. Mr. Lee taped a copy to his fridge with a magnet shaped like a tiny watering can. Even the teens liked the 1-page style. "It says everything in plain words," one of them wrote. The guide felt like a small lamp people could carry in their heads. A week later, the police liaison sent Marcus a photo from the training room. On the wall behind the instructor, there was Ava's poster. Celebrate, be kind, call 911 only for real emergencies. The bright letters looked steady and hopeful. Next to it was a list of sample phrases officers could use during non-emergency checks. Thank you for your time. We appreciate your calm. Here's the non-emergency number for next time. The email said the refresher class went well, and that officers liked the clear examples and the reminders about children's feelings at family events. Marcus showed the photo to Ava, and she smiled like the sun had just stepped closer to the window. "My stars are helping," she whispered. One afternoon, a folded note appeared on Marcus's doormat. The envelope said, "From across the street." He stood still for a moment, then opened it at the kitchen table. The handwriting was careful and honest. The neighbor wrote that she had completed the community education session. She wrote that she had learned the difference between discomfort and danger, and that she now had both numbers on a card by her phone. She wrote that she was sorry for calling 911 during a child's daytime party and for the worry it brought. At the bottom, she added one more line: "I am trying to do better." The words were simple. They were enough. Marcus did not rush across the street. He wrote a short reply on a small card and left it in her mailbox the next morning. "Thank you for your note," he wrote. "We accept your apology. We are neighbors and we are trying to do better too. If you plan a gathering or have a concern, please feel free to message the street chat or knock with kindness. We will do the same." He signed his name and walked home with an easy breath. He did not look for more. He let the words sit like seeds in the ground. Life kept moving in its usual way. There were school mornings and grocery lists. There was a piano song Ava practiced again and again until it sounded like clean water. Lena found a small frame for a photo from the birthday. Ava in her yellow dress, the cake with tiny stars, a half smile that said, "I am 8. She put the frame on a shelf, not to hide the hard moment, but to let the good part shine. The city posted a short page on its website called Know the Right Number. It was very simple. It had 2 big buttons, 911, emergencies only, and non-emergency, questions or daytime noise. Under each button, it listed examples in plain words. The page linked to the Good Neighbor Guide template that Marcus had shared. A local library printed a few copies and placed them near the front desk. The librarian told Marcus, "People pick them up. They like that it fits on one page." A teacher from Ava's school invited Marcus to speak to a small group of 4th graders. He stood in a bright classroom with art on the walls and wrote 2 numbers on the board. He told a short story about a party, a phone call, and a lesson. He used simple sentences. Emergency is when someone is hurt or in danger. Daytime noise is not an emergency. We can use polite words in the non-emergency number. The children nodded. A boy raised his hand and asked, "What if you are not sure?" Marcus smiled. "If you are a child, tell a trusted adult. If you are a grown-up, look with your eyes for real danger. If you do not see danger, try the non-emergency line or a friendly knock if it feels safe." The children practiced saying both numbers out loud, not as a shout, but as a calm code for wise choices. At home that evening, Marcus opened his folder and added a new tab called School. He typed a short summary. Talk went well, kids repeated, both numbers. Teacher requested 5 printed guides for parents. He printed the guides on plain paper. He liked plain paper. It told people, "This is for everyone." A few days later, the block had another test, the gentle kind. A neighbor hosted a yard sale on a Saturday afternoon. Early that morning, the neighbor posted to the chat, "Yard sale today 9 to 1, no music. Please tell me if the flow of people feels too busy." At 10 a.m., there were many friendly faces on the sidewalk. People spoke softly and smiled. The neighbor put a small sign near the table. "Restroom not available. Please use public facilities down the street." A teen from the block stood at the corner and helped cars park in a polite way. At noon, the neighbor across the street sent a short message. "Thanks for the heads up. Busy but fine." It was only 5 words, but they felt like a bridge. Later, she stopped by to buy a small vase and, after a pause, told the host, "Thank you for keeping things tidy." The host replied with a smile, "Thank you for the note." There were no big gestures, just careful steps taken in order. That evening, the street chat showed a photo of a fridge door. On it, a magnet held a small card with both numbers in bold. The caption said, "Now we all have the same card." Someone asked for a printable version. The PDF link went around, again like a gentle chorus. One night there was a power outage on the block. The sky was a deep navy, and the houses sat in a quiet line without their usual lights. The street chat lit up with calm notes. "Everyone okay? I have a small flashlight if anyone needs one. I'll check on Mrs. Rivera." Marcus and a neighbor walked to check on a senior at the end of the street. They knocked with soft hands and spoke through the door. She was fine but grateful. No one called 911. One person called the utilities outage number. Another used the non-emergency line to ask a question about streetlights. People helped each other with blankets and phone chargers. When the lights came back, a cheer ran down. The block like a wave that never crashed. In the dark, the lessons had held. A few weeks later, a letter arrived from the city council office. It thanked the block for sharing their Good Neighbor Guide and said the city would include a link to it in a seasonal newsletter about safety and community care. It also said the city would pilot small posters in community centers using Ava's line, "Celebrate, be kind, call 911 only for real emergencies." The letter closed with a simple hope that calm knowledge would travel from street to street like quiet sunshine. Marcus read it to Lena and Ava at dinner. Ava pulled her shoulders up with shy pride and then hid her smile behind a spoon. One afternoon, Marcus was returning from the store when he saw the neighbor across the street standing by her flower bed. She looked up and gave a small nod, like a door opening just a little. He paused on the sidewalk and returned the nod. "Your flowers look good," he said. The rain helped. She looked at the soil and then at him. "I am learning," she said. She did not say more, and she did not need to. He smiled and said, "We all are." Then he carried the groceries inside, feeling the quiet ease of a knot loosening. On a Sunday, the block held a small picnic in the community center yard. There were simple sandwiches, fruit, and water. There was no speaker, only conversation and the kind of laughter that fits neatly into the air. The police liaison stopped by for 20 minutes, not to teach, but to say hello. She saw Ava and thanked her again for the poster. "It's on the training wall," she said. "It helps people remember that every check we do touches someone's day." Ava listened carefully and then asked, "Do officers like stars?" The liaison smiled. "We like anything that helps us do our jobs with care." They took a photo with the poster in the background. Later, the liaison emailed it to Marcus with one line, "Your block is a good classroom." When autumn came, the trees on the street let go of their leaves in soft spirals. The shared calendar showed a fall festival with pumpkins and warm tea. The post before the event read, "Festival Saturday 2 to 5 p.m., no speakers, live acoustic guitar from 3:30 at a gentle level." After the event, someone wrote, "Thank you to our volume buddy," and someone else wrote, "Thank you to our chat." The words "thank you" appeared again and again, until they felt like a habit, not a special move. On a quiet evening, Marcus sat at his desk and started one last file for the folder. He called it, "A Parent's Simple Guide to Hard Moments." It was a 2-page note in very plain language. Page 1. If a non-emergency call interrupts your family event, breathe, be calm, be respectful, take notes, ask for the incident number, and keep the music low. Page 2. After the event, request records, share facts without blame, invite education, build a small plan with neighbors, and create a happy memory on purpose. He added one more line at the end. Children watch how we solve problems. Let's show them soft strength. He saved the file and printed a test copy. Lena read it and tapped the last sentence with her finger. "This is the heart," she said. That weekend, Marcus and Ava walked to the library. They donated a few printed guides and a copy of the Parent's Simple Guide. The librarian promised to place them near the community board. On the way home, they passed the chalk corner W faded. Today,